The new year, resolutions, newness, letting go of the past. It's a time when we all are really anticipating how amazing tomorrow's going to be. But you know what? We're here today. So I'm excited because I have my soul brother and friend, Tiger Coll, in the house. Hey, Tiger.
How they going? How you going?
I'm going good. And I'm excited because when you and I come together, just like when you and Tom come together, magical shit happens. So we're here today and we really want to inspire you all to step into 2025 with some new energy and some new thoughts about how to really back yourself and work with your spiritual team and guidance. So a couple things have been on my mind lately, Tiger.
All right, let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Juicy. Well, so the new year and all of the resolutions and energies. But I've noticed lately around myself as well as other people that there's been this inability to discern energies. And so I've noticed this in leaders I've worked with that I've mentioned this before on the podcast where I can literally almost see energies that's not them in them. Okay.
Sure.
You get this.
Sure.
Yeah. So, so I've noticed that patterns of energies come around people a lot. And it's almost like a swirling of like, it'll come around, then it'll leave, then it'll come back around and leave. And so I really wanted to focus on this a bit because there's a saying that we like to say is that if we spot it, we got it. Right. So I have this in me too, which we all do. And lately at work, I've noticed that there's been some energy that's come around. So I really want to talk about discernment.
That's discernment. I completely can relate to that. I'd imagine a lot of people can. Discernment, they say that discernment is a part of your intuitive gift, right? Four gifts, but that's part of your intuitive gift, and everyone has it. But the idea of making sure that my discernment is at its peak is the difference between me taking on stuff that doesn't belong to me or me working with what I've come to do exclusively. And which means when I'm working with what I come to do exclusively, it is inclusive of people. It's inclusive of my relationships. So it's not about excluding things, but that I can totally relate to what you're talking about, the discernment. If to just say, what do I want? When the challenge hits, right? Like, let's say I'm under pressure, right? Here we are in the holidays moving through, and then you have the new year, and then there's that lull. What do I need? What do I want? And if you're halfway sensitive, right? If you're halfway sensitive, then it's like being on a radio station, right? Like, remember the old school
with the knobs,
with the knobs, and then and then you can be tuned into things where it's like you get a lot of snow, the little shh in the back, or that you don't hear it real good. To me, that's part of that discernment. Like how long was I driving where this music I was listening to, this good station, but it wasn't tuned just right. I was hearing all this background stuff. And so why am I bringing that up is because for me, if I'm really tuned in, if I'm really discerning, clear about where I begin and end, why I'm where I am, clear about why I want to be with these people or be at this opportunity, then all of a sudden everything's tuned in sharp. Right? Like I can work with the bigger picture. I know what's my business and what's not my business. All that stuff. Or if I do hit troubles, which I inevitably do because I'm trying new things sometimes, or all old patterns.
And you're human?
Yeah.
Forget that.
I'm getting it. That's right. If I do hit it, I can discern, I can identify what is that. Like, I don't just fall into the trouble. Like, I can actually go, what is that, before I fall into the trouble? Which, I don't know if anybody else, but so often I'll have the reaction to something. I'll just fall right into a pattern because I'm in it. So anyway, without getting, I know we're going to really get into this, but that discernment for 2025, I would say would be right at the top. I agree with that. For 2025, make sure that's at, you have other things that need to be involved for the year, but that needs to be at the top, because otherwise, how am I going to fulfill on my New Year's resolutions? How am I going to step forward in this year and what I've come to do with people? If without the discernment, basically all of my powers, all my sensitivity, all of my abilities are going to be operating at a percentage. That's kind of how and that, to me, that kind of bothers me, right? Like, oh, I have 100% life and vitality and I'm only using 52%. Right? Yeah. And so like, where's that other 52% going? So discernment to me is critical, and I'm sure you have some stories about that, but I think that was spot on to bring that up for 2025.
Well, I'm glad you thought about that and think that's true. Okay, so back to your little dial.
Yes.
Because that's exactly how I feel that as I've explored and opened up myself energetically and understanding more and more about what's me, what's not me, that is what it's like. So here's my example. So I go to my new workplace and I'm learning so much, right? There's so many pieces of this puzzle that everything's new. And one piece is the telephone. So I have to learn how to do the telephone. And there's a big office, and there's, a lot of people, and you have to, do the asterisks and hit their number and hit this and hold and transfer. I'm like, what the heck? So when I'm there, one of the ladies that I work with told me that the previous person could never like to answer the phone. Just didn't want to answer the phone. Like, okay. And I've worked in other places before and I answered the phone. It's no big deal. But what started happening to me is when the phone rang, I got a panic attack. I felt anxiety within me. And I literally was like, what in the world? And this went on for a little while. I didn't want to answer the phone because there's other people answering it too. So it wasn't just me, but I wanted to learn how. So I recognized there was an energy pattern in the place I'm at that was affecting the previous person and now was affecting me. So once I discerned this, it really cut it.
Right.
Because then I'm like, I can do this. Hello. And so I would start answering the phone and then it was gone. But then it would start sneaking back in to go, hey, want to have a little anxiety? And we laugh, but oh my God, it's like these little things. So it's fine tuning that. And I'm like, no, that's not me.
Yeah.
So this goes on with all kinds of people, as well as not, just obviously personally, but also like collectively.
Yes.
So when we're talking about, coming into 2025 and we have a new administration coming in soon, which is going to be a whole other shift depending upon, the likes and dislikes and everything. But, and I guess this moves into really about, am I discerning the fear I'm feeling, or am I discerning like moving into love? That's where I want to go with this, because for myself, I love this new job and I love answering the phone and talking to people. Hey, so once I really determined that and what it was, I was able to move out of the fear and into love. So to me, this is a big piece, is being able to discern that. And then when we move into, this year of slipstream, like moving into that energy of, yeah, I got this. And then that love energy versus the fear.
Well, I thank you for sharing that story. Everything is available all the time. Everything is available all the time. So even in my darkest places, there's always hope, there's always belief, there's always power available to me all the time. And when I'm at the top of my game, when I'm feeling good, that, the relations is going great and the business is going great, there is always the availability to go get caught and go in a hole. Right. And everything is available to me all the time. And what I'm inspired by what you're saying is that if if I'm not discerning what it is I'm involved with, I'm going to fall back to what I default to, what my training is, what my first 7 years is, what my maze is, what my ancestors did, so to speak. I'm going to go there because that's the old picture. That's the framework that I'm working with. And just to kind of carry on in that similar vein, I've been working on some things administratively, which is not my niche. You know, I enjoy being more out with people and stuff. So I'm already working at a place that's not my preference. But, you know, my guidance kept saying, well, you know, be involved. And I said, God, how many times are you going to tell me that? So involvement is a key for me, because then I put myself in it, and but in this process of this administration stuff in the background, the websites, and, you know, working with people and the checklists and stuff like that, you know, it's there's stuff that works, and all of a sudden things will break, and, you know, this isn't working, and I'm trying to meet the time and all this kind of thing. And where I'm going with that is, at some point, I had to kind of float up like a balloon and make a decision. Like, wait a minute, what do I want to be a part of? Which is what I was getting from what you're sharing. What do I want to be a part? What do you want to be a part of? Do I want to be a part of positive love and possibilities? Not from a feel-good perspective per se, because there is such a thing as toxic positivity. Like, just it becomes this avoidance
Yes.
of things that I need to work through, because I'm just going to say positive things only. So I want to be a part of positive things because it feels good and it helps me move forward. It doesn't preclude me from having negative things hit me and all that kind of stuff. So there was a certain point where there was enough going wrong. And this was recent. This is like within the last 3 months. There was enough going wrong that I was getting angry at home. You know, I'd come home and I'd start to feel angry. And I'd think about the next day, and I started like to get frustrated. And so I just had to make a decision. Wait a minute, what am I going to be involved in? And that's the great power of working with your spiritual helpers or guidance, having that communication.
Yep.
You know, if you want to know more about that, talk to this lady right here, or go to the podcast that she has on that. But it's a powerful thing to have that little backup, right? So, okay, to the point. I stopped. I recognized what it was when I would feel it, because it would hit me again. Something would break or something wouldn't work, and now we have to do more work because that's automatically not working or something like that. So it became this point. It's like, oh, there it is. Okay, what do I need to do? Right, and I'd go along and things would be going great, and then oh man, that isn't working. Okay, what do I need to do? And that only took me like 2 or 3. That's just happened in one day. So it just took me like 2 or 3 times to get into a new groove, right? And where it was great to have this feedback, because I was talking to someone else like the next day, right? And we're on the phone and we're talking about this stuff that's breaking, and that person just is like, they were just blown away. They're like, energy just dropped. You know how you've seen people, like you see them, they're just like, they go from this. I mean, if you're not watching, but it's like their whole shoulders drop and their voice just changes. And it's like, just, oh God, you know, God, we put all this energy and, you know, oh my God. And the whole thing shifts. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, you know, come on, it's not, let's move forward. So it showed me where I had come. It showed me, and that's the great thing with working with other people. It tells you you made some progress. But I realized that if everything's available to me all the time, if I don't discern it, and I'm going to indulge in it, I'm going to start indulging in that frustration. I'm going to indulge in that anger or that panic or whatever it is. I'm going to start playing with it, and you know, not to make it a little, but I'm basically feeding this energy. I'm feeding something I don't want to be a part of because I'm not discerning it. Is this me? Is this even what I want? And again, it's not about being constantly trying to be positive. It's just, is this what I want or not? Okay, what do I need to do? Right? I need to pull myself up from my bootstraps. Hey, cut that crap out, Tiger. That's who's that? And so to me, it was just, am I going to stay in that, or am I going to go to what I want? And
Right.
and so that's the discernment for me that I was getting from what you're sharing with that thing with the phone. I can kind of relate to a version of that. It's like, wait a minute, I'm here because I want to be here.
Right.
Hold on, and I don't like every single thing that happens, but did I choose to be here or not? And so anyway, that's what stands out to me.
Yeah. And so what really pops up when you're mentioning this is that, a lot of times it's easy for us to see in other people when this
Mhm.
happens, right? Oh my God, they're talking about this again, or they're in the bottom of the bucket again, right?
Right.
And it happens every so many months, or every
Right.
once a year, or whatever. But it's really when, like you said, working with your guidance and working with our energy, that we start discerning it for ourselves. Because I could have went to talk therapy, not to say there's anything wrong with talk therapy, but when I'm working with my guidance and my energy, it's night and day than talk therapy. Because I've been to some talk therapy before. It's just, there's nothing comparable to working with my guidance, who know me, who know what I need,
Right.
and who can give me insights as far as, starting to discern this. So when I can discern this and I can put together for myself that, oh, there's something here that's triggering me when the phone rings. And what's really funny, and I'm coming up right now about this, when I was back at another place, at the retail place, right, for a couple weeks before I got this new job, there was a time when we were putting on these little security things on all the retail, like the expensive stuff, right? And they go beep, 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 beep.
Yes.
Okay. So at one point, a lot were going off at one time, and I had to stop them, like literally, and it triggered me.
Mm.
So it's interesting how so then there's a phone ringing, like these things sometimes.
Right.
I don't know why I'm really sharing this. I guess because it's these things that can trigger us into really oblivion almost,
Yes.
and not being centered, not being aware of what really is going on energetically in the energy of where you're at, because this can happen at home, it can happen at work, it can happen in the car, anytime. So being able to access your guidance and making sure your energy is cleansed and clear when you're moving into different situations and what you're doing throughout the day can be such a game changer. And that's what I've noticed, especially in the last couple of years.
Yeah. I guess what I'm there's a price for everything. I have to remember there's a price for everything. Nothing's for free. We live in a galaxy system. We live in a system where nothing is for free. Maybe if you go to a different galaxy system, maybe it's different over there. But
It's not free here.
Everything, there's a price, for things. And, I can't even breathe for free. These are the facts here. I have to be willing to expend the energy it takes to blow out the air in my lungs in order to grasp a new one. And in order to do that, I need to make sure that I have my energy and high, right? I got to eat. I got to take care of myself. In order to eat, I got to go buy the food. I got to go get it. So there's this whole price to be paid just so I can have a breath of fresh air. Now, that's a price I'm willing to pay, right? And most people are willing to pay that. But I can forget that there's a price for everything. And why I'm bringing that up is when I forget that I have a choice, when I forget that, and that whatever I do will have a price. So in order for me to be a part of the bigger picture of life, in order for me to have that flood through everything I'm doing to the last detail, of everything. And, whether, we're having a little fellowship and drinks, or whether we're talking to you, solving complicated problems, building rockets to Mars and the whole thing, regardless of what it is, if I want that bigger picture to channel through everything, then the price I pay is I need to be willing to let go of the small picture, right? And why is that? Why is it? Well, Tiger, that's not a big deal. Of course I want to do that. Well, the price I pay is because I'm kind of married to that small picture. I'm used to that small picture. That's how I used to operate. That's my go-to when troubles hit, right? That's my reaction when someone gets into my face, or someone gets into my field, or I get stimulated with something, like you're bringing up all the noise and stuff. I can relate to that. It's like I can't even concentrate. So in order for me to be able to move smoother through those things, I need to be married now to the bigger picture, and I need to release that smaller one. And that's a price. There's a price to pay for that. It's what I'm familiar with. It's what I'm used to. So there's a price there, right? And as long as I know, okay, I'm willing to pay the price, right? I'm willing to start letting go of the things and ideas that hold me to that old way, and I'm going to start building a new habit, a new routine for myself, and I'm going to let go of this old habit. There's a shift there. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've had people in my life where when I start to try to make a change, they don't like it, because that's not. Wait a minute, Tiger, you're changing. You're changing. That's not what I'm used to. So it stimulates them, and they feel insecure. So it's like, okay, I know that's going to happen. So I can just keep nice and steady, because I've got I'm married to the big picture now. This is what I want to accomplish. So in hearing and feeling what you're talking about, that when that hits me, if I can say, okay, I'm committed to this bigger picture. I know I'm going to live a life of purpose. This is what I want to do, right? I assume if you're listening to this, you must be interested in your life purpose. So if that's going to be my way, right? If that's going to be my way, and then I need to now let myself operate and discern from the bigger picture. And to be clear, everybody, that I still fall down. I still react to stuff. It happens.
Wait a minute, because you're human. Disclaimer, Tiger, you're fucking human. Oh, did I say that? We forget that sometimes.
I'm glad it's just the two of us talking about this.
Oh yeah, no one else will hear this.
No one else. But the bottom line is that I'm committed to that bigger picture, and I've got support, and that's the great thing about, hey, make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who have true concern. They don't always have to agree with you, right? I mean, having an echo chamber of people who only agree with you, that's not helpful. But you have people who actually have respect for you, regardless of how they think might be different. If there's a respect, that's powerful. And that's kind of like working with, people of like mind. Mm-hmm. Working with my spiritual helpers allows me to tune into the bigger picture in the universe. Those kinds of things help me move forward. And then I'm willing to pay the price. I'm willing to advance. So the price I pay in order to live a life of the bigger picture, whatever you want to call that, right? A life of the universe, a life of, some people call it God, right? The all. Whatever it is, being a part of that, being one with all, then I need to be willing to let go of those smaller pictures that I have. The idea of getting, you brought up the point, like here in America, we have that change of administration and political power. If I'm not centered, if I'm not clear what I need to do, then I'm going to get shifted one way or the other, because the ocean seems to be choppy a little bit. Rather than setting my sails, setting my rudder, I'm going to move forward. And that's the key for me that really stands out there. If I'm willing to let go of the small picture, I can fully embrace the big one.
And so the word that comes to mind when you're saying all that is present.
Mm,
So staying in the present.
yeah.
Because, we can't, the past is the past, the future's not here yet. We're only in the now. And I love that thing about the bigger picture, because that's really been a savior for me the last few months, as I've shifted from doing my everyday, being at the house every single day for how many years, and then moving into, moving out back into the workforce, is like knowing that, well, my bigger picture though is, I'm a soul and a physical body. I've got guidance, that I'm here to be of service. So I really believe that spirit puts me in the right places for me to gain some knowledge, to really to gain some insights for, again, where are people at, what's going on in the real world, and getting out there. So sometimes, we can be kind of hidden in our little caves, when we really need to get out there, be amongst people, live some life, and really then recognize, okay, so what am I learning from this opportunity in the present moment?
Yeah, I completely agree. And fear of success. We talked a little bit about that before we went on air. Uh, if there are many things that I'm involved in that may or may not be part of what I really want, right? Hey, I want all rainbows and roses here. Why do I have these down days, or why does this stuff happen to me, poor little me, kind of thing. But if I'm willing to commit to say I want this in my life, that's that whole saying that you probably heard it. Everybody's heard it 100 times. Like, if you do what you love, you're never going to work a day in your life, kind of thing. And so I don't have to know how to get there, right? As a matter of fact, if I tried to overthink that, I can sometimes squeeze out the miracles that will happen, because the bigger picture is moving, the manifestation that that we talk about, they're moving chess pieces. Everything's getting lined up if I'm crystal clear with what I need and want. So if all I need to do is be able to point my nose or set a goal, hey, this is what I want to move toward. That's number one. And in 2025, this is going to be for me, this is going to be a big, powerful year. This is my discernment on this year, is going to be a great year to really start to make those final decisions, come full circle on what it is, everything that I've done up to this point, and what am I working with? What can I start releasing that no longer fits? And where can I start pointing myself to? There's going to be a lot of extra energy. And you brought up slipstream, which is the theme of the year spiritually. But within that is that allow myself to enjoy everything I've got. And I've got some challenges sometimes, and I've got some great things sometimes. And looking at it from the viewpoint of that bigger picture, from the viewpoint of the soul, or my consciousness. Like, look what I've created.
Right.
The masterful messes and the masterful successes. It's mine, and coming it from that perspective, now I've got a focus. I've got a new way to allow the bigger picture and spirit and all those things to work with me, as opposed to me trying to do it by myself. I'm going to make it happen. Or on the other side of it is, I'm just going to let God do it for me. Right? That, it'll just happen. Right? And that's a technique, right? There's nothing wrong with that for those of you who practice that. Just remember, it's a technique, right? It's to show you how much, if the people who say, well, I'm just going to, God will provide for me. It's a good technique. It's not a way of life. It's a good technique to show how much can be manifested just by a thought. So it's like a technique, right? But in the end, it's kind of in the middle. I need to be doing my part, and then the bigger picture and the universe and spirit will do their part. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to try to fix everything and have every last detail completely figured out. I want to have it open for some miracles to happen. But at the same time, I don't want to just not do what I know how to do. And so if I'm going back to my point, if I'm doing the very best I know how, and that's the key, right? Am I doing the very best I know how? Do I show up at the place I'm going with these people? Am I showing up cleansed? As silly as that sounds. In other words, am I showing up at my best? Or am I already coming in at a, shoulders down, head down, right? Am I ready for the challenge of the day? Or am I like, oh God, I got another day, right? You know what?
Right.
Like, am I doing my best? Sometimes I have to go and say, I got to take a cold shower. I don't want to be a part of that feeling, right? Again, this is not positive toxic positivity, excuse me. But it's like, I'm discerning what it is. I don't want that. What do I need to do about it? Okay, I'm going to take a cold shower, all right? Or I'm going to cleanse, or I'm going to do a positive punch, or I'm going to some technique to say, no, I'm not going to accept that in myself. No, I'm going to go over here, right? So it's not avoiding things. It's more, I'm going to go into that situation doing the very best I know how. And to me, that's part of 2025 because it's guaranteed that we're going to experience some ups and downs. That's a guarantee, right? And we're up for change, right? And that's, for me, that's what a lot of what the slipstream is. I know I'm going to be moving through change, right? And I guess we'll get into kind of what talking about people's fears and stuff, but I know I'm moving through change. So I want to be in that slipstream of life. I want to be in it, and I want to help create it for others, right? And if every one of you who's listening to this makes that commitment for 2025, I want to be in it, life's slipstream, and I want to help create it, meaning that the people who come behind you because you're a way shower will have an easier go of it, right? It's just that little thing. And it's silly little things, right? Going to the grocery store, am I clear or am I not paying attention? Right? This is how people have accidents, right? Am I seeing the world around me or am I just got my head down? And little things like that, they're practical things, but they're spiritual things. It's like, wow, it's like, oh, this is so profound. Yeah, it's practical. You can do it every day, and then I find that the universe and spirit can back me more because they know that I've got some consistency. They know I'm in the rhythm, I'm in the slipstream. And that's that to me. If those of you are listening, you can't see me, imagine a pipe that's, a couple inches or, centimeters big, that the more I'm consistent with moving forward, working with what I want to be a part of, when challenges hit, doing the absolute very best I know how, not getting caught up in personality, not getting caught up in little pictures, but rising to service, rising to the mission of purpose, right? If I'm doing that, then that little centimeter, that couple inches of pipe goes into a meter or yards worth of pipe, meaning that I have all this extra energy to back me because I'm working with that higher feeling. I'm working with that higher purpose. So then all that's there. So that's the feeling I love when it hits. I'm sure most of you listening to this, I'm sure you have experienced that when you're just on your game.
Absolutely.
You're like, it's everything's hitting, we're moving, it all feels good, right?
And if there's challenges, they move out quick.
Yes.
Or I learn what I'm learning from it faster because I have the backing of spirit and I'm working with my team, working with the energies. And so I really want to go back to being a way shower. So I think this is a really a good key moving into 2025, which it's funny that 2025, I've been using the words alive and thrive in 2025. So the fact that whenever you can be present, be in the now, work with your guidance, really get into that slipstream of that energy you're talking about in the pipeline, like really moving forward with what's next down the road, what's spirit going to open up next for me.
Yep.
Then you're able to really showcase your skills and be a way shower for others. Because that's what I've noticed in the places I've been into with who I am, my energy, my enthusiasm, is that it uplifts others, or it also makes them look at some things that they're working on. So, being a way show out in the world is not only because, we're showcasing who we are and our energies, but it's also to influence the energies of the environments we're in. So when I go into a store, or I go into, say, Tiger, us, we're in this room together, recording this, our energies in this room uplifting it. And if someone were to come in, they'd be like, whoa, I feel it. And that might stimulate them, or in a positive way, or in a way that they're going to have some type of big learning experience. And that's really what I've noticed in the couple places I've been put into from my, my jobs lately, is that, yeah, my energy is definitely, it's stimulating, and it's creating, different environmental, I'll say, stimulants for people. You understand what I'm talking about?
Oh,
Tiger?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's a good thing. It's a very good thing.
I mean, way shower, and if we even hyphenated the word, right? Way dash shower, right? Like that, to me, that's that life as an example, being an example of living life purpose, right? And to go one step further, for those of you who maybe you share more with people at this level, or maybe you're more overt with who you are and what you believe. The key thing for me is always remembering the keyword service. I've come here to be of service, right? Not a servant. I do not come here to be a servant. I came here to be of service. And if service is my standard, right? That goes back to that. I'm working with that bigger picture energy. It's a higher standard. So if I'm working or helping somebody, for instance, what level of service, am I really being of service here? And so to me, being a spiritual way shower, or living a life of example, is knowing, discerning. There we go, back full circle to the beginning, discerning the difference between being of service and helping or assisting, and catering to people, or having to take care of them. And to be clear, I want to just say that, I have a life of being of service and helping people. So I want to preface this, but also I can't fix people. That I need to, if that's anywhere inside me, I need to purge that. I need to release that idea, right? I can't fix them. I can't save them, right? I can't fix them because they're not broken. They're whole and perfect for what they've come to do. They may not be perfect for what I've come to do, just as, I'm not the other way around, right? But they're perfect for what they came to do. So they're not broken. And number two, I can't save them because they're not lost. They're here. They're having an experience. I may not like that experience. I may not want that to be a part of my life, but they're here. They've organized themselves to be in this life. Not every soul, if you can imagine, team, not every soul has organized themselves to incarnate, to have an experience here. You have to be organized to do that. So even the little gal or guy on the street, the ones that we typically can feel sorry for, oh no, they have organized themselves to be here. They're having an experience. When it comes time to go home, they're going to regroup their experience, and that's the bigger picture. So being a way shower is to me, if we're to start classifying it, I mean, there's 100 ways to be a way shower, right? But to classify it for me, it's really working with that higher standard. And to me, when I have that embedded in me, or I see it in someone else, it's inspiring, because they're not going to let themselves play little petty games. They're going to see the potential in people, right? They're not going to fall down with you. You know, there's that difference. I know that sounds like semantics, right? But the difference between sympathy and empathy, right? Like sympathy, the root word of sympathy is like suffering with them, right? It's like,
Yep.
hey, team, been there, done that. I know what that feels like to be in that position. I don't need to do that in order to help and inspire. I don't, you know, that's the vibration of the difference between the hand out or the hand up, right? I don't want a handout, but I every now and then I could use a hand up, right? And it's just a different vibe that it comes from. And as a way shower, I can't afford to look down on people and say, oh, I need to save that person, or I need to fix that. Oh, I got to help that poor little gal or guy. Like, that's coming from a position that you're lesser than me and I'm greater, right? Now we kind of code it, right? We kind of sugarcoat it like, oh no, I'm going to help. But the truth is my motive, my unconscious motive is you're lesser and I'm greater. But the moment I say, wait a minute, you're just like me. You're just like me. Now, maybe I'm more organized over here, but you're just like me. Then I'm coming from a place, I'm showing the way from a place of a high standard, and I can actually help. And they can either reject that or accept that, right? Maybe I'm not the right person to help that person. You know, sometimes I forget that my energy isn't ripe for that person, but the next person that comes along is. So it's not to throw people away. It's not to not help people. But it is just say, I'm here to be of service. I'm not here to be a servant. I'm here to support and back, but I'm not here to cater. Because ultimately, as a way shower, that's what my guidance are doing for me. They're not trying to cater to me. They know what I'm capable of. They're not trying to fix me. They know I'm not broken. They know they're not trying to save me because I'm not lost. So they're a tremendous example. They're way showers for me, so that I can pass that on and do that. And just in closing on that part, imagine 2025. Okay, so everybody listening to this, 2025, imagine if every one of us commits to that way shower energy, to commit to yourself, commit to myself, say, I'm going to do the very best I know how, and I'm going to pass on what I have. I'm going to here to be of service, right? And if if something doesn't present itself, I'll go find a place to be of service, right? That kind of energy. And when I'm shining, you know, and you have a lot of this. When I'm shining at that level, the bad habits, the confusion, the little idiosyncrasies that people can push my buttons with, it outshines all of that. Because I'm up front. I'm here to be of service. I'm not going to go down to that pettiness of personality and little games. And I understand that, let's face it, we have to live in a real world. You got to play the game. I get it. I have to do it too. But because I have momentum, you have momentum into 2025. You're in the slipstream. You move through it, right? It's that feeling. You're right, smooth, as opposed to that feeling of, you know, the nails scratching on the chalkboard, right? Yeah.
We all know that one.
So that's, if there's wear and tear, that I'm not tapped into that bigger picture. I'm not being a way shower. I'm not leading myself. So that's to me, that's the inspiration of what I hear you saying is if that light is shining bright in me, then there's no limit. There's absolutely no limit. We're on fire here, right? We're on fire here. And I can have everything available to me at all times. I can have that if I want it. Right? Now, it might take me a little bit to shake off the not so good habits, but I can do that. So anyway, being a way shower, I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. And the word that comes to mind whenever I think of way shower is and service is fulfillment. So, and that can show up in all kinds of ways. I go back again to what I'm recently involved in, right? Moving out of being at home all the time, going back into a 9 to 5, 40-hour week. I'm so fulfilled. I mean, it's unbelievable how fulfilled I am because I am being of service.
Right.
And I know what my service is moving into a workspace and what my job is and how important it is as a team. So that's another aspect of what I'm learning at the moment with my current job is that everyone plays a part. And so to be of service in my area of what I need to accomplish and learn from, it affects and it influences everybody. So that's a thing that I really like to emphasize is that feeling of fulfillment. And so being a way shower, we're all way showers. It's just, but it's funny because as you were saying one part of that, I was like, yeah, well, if you would have been here last night, because I came home and Tom wasn't here and I was tired and some things happened. He left the laundry in a place and I was all pissy. I mean, it like just spun me out, Tiger. It was crazy because I'm human. And I get home and I have expectations and whatever, like I'm freaking human. But it didn't take me long. Well, it did. I went to bed like that. And then this morning I was much better. So because he got home late.
Time for a break.
Yeah, he got home late. We didn't get a chance to discuss it. So I went to bed in my little funk. But then in the morning, I'm like, okay, here's what it's all about, right? Laying out, okay, this is when the confusion came in because this happened, that happened. I was tired, which he knows if I'm tired, it can go south if you know. So I'm sharing this just to let you guys know that, in the midst of me sharing my enthusiasm, sharing my light, I'm human. And I have these moments too where I get, thrown off but I don't spin out as long as I used to. That's the key. Because before I might go a couple of days or who knows how long, right? Now I'm like, no, let's get down to it. And of course, living with someone too that I can, go there with and say, hey, what the hell's going on with this? And what is he feeling? What am I feeling? And then we get to really, be in the present and recognize, okay, what's our learning out of this? And how can we not do it again or do it differently if it shows up? Because it may show up again. Like earlier talking about the energies that come back around and I notice too, whenever I get to a point and, Tom and I are also starting in 2025, we're starting to do a monthly class, which we're going to be offering. And this is a big deal. So whenever there's big deals that happen, there's confusion. I like to come in and go, let's spin them out. Let's not let them work together. So it's really being, what's the word I want to say? Obedient. I want to say obedient, honestly, to my spiritual part and to the bigger picture of being service and being a way shower. And being consistent with, okay, keep working on myself, regrouping what I'm learning and being able to access that part of me to not allow when that comes around to not spin out so long. Does that make sense, Tiger?
100%. I'm
just being real here, people.
And that to me, the word spiritual is synonymous with practical and real life, everyday opportunities. They are one and the same. And if I'm not working with things at that level, then I'm working off the theory of metaphysics, the theory of religion, the theory of these positive living. I'm working off the theory of that. And if I'm not bringing it into that just practical, real thing, like you're saying, okay, wait a minute, I'm sleeping on this. Okay, I get up, I'm better, right? Like, okay, sometimes I need to do that, right? It's kind of like, I don't advocate for this, but sometimes, I need to go take a break, have a drink, and just relax. It's just like
Everyone
take a
does it
break.
different ways.
Everybody does
Yes.
right. And so I get it. Now, as I improve, I'm getting to that place where I don't have to go and have an outer thing to help me with that. Right. And that's the practice. That's the spiritual part, as opposed to the religious dogmatic part. Nothing against religion. It's just that it can be dogmatic. It can be theory. Right. So that I completely relate to that. I think most people could probably relate to that, about moving forward. And I think the distinction is we all have momentum that we can tap into. And if I'm obedient, I've come to learn to love that word. I used to rebel against that word. I hated that word. Now I've incorporated it into my language, because when I say obedient, am I being obedient to my true feelings? Am I being obedient to the inspiration that spirit and my guidance are telling me? Am I being obedient to the bigger picture, my bigger picture, the bigger picture? So it really becomes a lot easier to just relax, because I don't have to control everything, right? And I can start letting things go. There's a tremendous technique in some of our basic home studies and group work programs that we offer, and one of them is that you actually regroup on, if you were to graduate tomorrow.
Graduate meaning
if you were to pass on.
Yes.
Right?
Bye-bye.
Yeah. What would be the top 6 things you would have difficulty letting go of, right? Things, people, relations, situations. Like to get real honest with myself. And that's just a fraction of some of the techniques. But going into 2025, like how free am I? Right? And I'm not saying that to have a spiritual life, you just live a nomad life of not have no possessions or something. Far from it. Have 2 Ferraris if you want, but when it's time for me to move forward, am I willing to let go of the past? Right? And you were bringing up that point. All I've got is the present. All I've got is this moment. So how free am I to move forward? Because if I keep dragging the past into what I'm doing, well, then what do I think I'm going to get? Right? If I do what I've always done, I'm going to get what I've always got. So I need to start to release things that are no longer helping me or serving me. And at the same time, I need to release people, and I need to release things in my life, those challenges. Like you're saying, you obviously released that situation. Otherwise, you would have woke up and hit it hard and get into that funk again, but you didn't.
Well, it's hard because Tom's so sweet, and so
plug.
Plug.
So there's something there that we're able to move forward. And for everybody listening to this, that is a decision. That is a decision. So no matter how bad the situation or how bad I was abused in the past, how terrible things have happened, that's the past. That is the past. And the only way for me to get dirty with it is if I dig it up.
And a lot of people do.
And every day they're reconstituting it. Don't do this in 2025. You're working against the energy, right? You're working against the rhythm. Right now, that slipstream, that 2025 feeling is about, let's wrap it up. Let's round it out. Let's move forward. That is, everything is moving that way, right? No matter what you may think, everything's moving that direction. So yes, we may have some ups and downs. Yes, we'll have some challenges and we'll have some great things, but everything is moving in that direction. We're all moving in that direction. So going back is, if I'm willing just to make a decision and discern, right? If I make a decision, this is what I want to be a part of. The decision is a spiritual word, by the way. It's like it has a power to it. Think about it. If you make a decision, if you make an act like decision, it's done. They could kill you and you will still go do it, right? It's that kind, that's what I mean by the word decision, right? When you make a decision that you're going to be the best you can be, not something out there. I'm saying being the best you know you can be, that you've experienced when you're happy, childlike, right? That you're going to have fun, right? That's enthusiastic, spiritual, right? That when that decision is made, it doesn't matter how bad it gets, it slips off. It slips off. There's no hooks in me, around me to grab onto stuff. So if I hit something and I'm wrestling with it, as long as I keep moving and I stay relaxed, it will slip off. But if I buy into the old ways, those are like hooks on me, like hooks on my skin where things can't just slip off. They actually get hooked into me. So that's that, making that decision for 2025 and do something simple, right? Don't make a great big thing. Oh, we're going to change the world. Want to change the world? Start with the person in the mirror, right? All I'm going to do is I'm going to be happier. I'm going to move toward my goals. I may not know how to get there, right? But I'm going to move toward my goals, and I'm right. I'm going to let that penetrate my body. I'm going to let it penetrate my work. I'm going to let it penetrate my abundance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So decision, that's a spiritual word from my perspective, and that commitment, because once I decide, I can commit. But if I don't decide, there's no commitment, right? I'm just basically doing it for the outside. Oh yes, I'll go to heaven if, I do these good things, And if it were that easy, I would tell you.
Yeah, well, if it was that easy, we wouldn't be here. Because there's no reason to be here. I mean, how boring would that be?
That's right.
There's no obstacles, no challenges. It's just all, rainbows and unicorn farts. I mean, like, well, why would we want that? No.
I agree. Bottom line is, it's going to be a great year, and everything's available all the time. So I can dig down into the crap, or I can grab the stars that have come closer. They're available to touch. They're closer, more of them. And I'm not saying that just as a pump up thing. I'm just saying that that's what's happening, right? Mm-hmm. I have the benefit of traveling. I have the benefit of working with many different people like you. All of that feedback has had some consistency, and that the stars are getting closer, and that I can touch them, I can reach them. Doesn't mean that the crap isn't there. It's there. But it's just going to be exactly what I want it to be. And that energy of slipstream, the 2025, it's going to amp it. It's going to so if I'm going to go in my hole, there's a slipstream for that. But if I want out of that hole and I want to do something fun and abundant, there's a slipstream for that. So what do I want to be involved in? And for me to just remember, not everybody has that same vision. Not everyone has that same commitment, and that's okay. That's okay. When they do the things that you did, they will gain an awareness and they will start doing it. But they just have to be allowed to have those experiences, right? And learn from them, that they like you did.
Don't they say don't steal them from don't rob them of their experiences?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Powerful.
Let them learn. Well, so that's a good place to end this, I think, because this is obviously going to be 2 separate episodes. But so what I hear you saying, Tiger, is that it's going to be a dang good year.
It is going to be a year to move us into an entirely new wave. It's something that we haven't seen, but it's just the wrap up and the culmination of decades and decades, and if not centuries, to help us get to this place. And we're starting fresh again, right? There's still going to be challenges. There's still going to be, people at a different level and all that kind of stuff. But it's just the wrap up. And so 2025, we're going to see a lot of that. And to me, that just is a fancy way to say for me to wrap up myself. Everything that's brought me to this point, everything that's brought you to this point. What do you need now? Let it come in as wisdom. And what can I let go of? And what am I going to project going forward? This is something that you can do every day. And I get that, we can do that all the time, but there's just more boost for it. There's a slipstream for it, so to speak. So for those of you who work with others and share spiritually, this is the kind of thing that will project and people will be open for more. It'll be easier to penetrate the challenges or the confusion around people, because more people will have that urge. It's just like, it's like a ground that's fertile, right? So that there's a desire to spring up. There's plenty of sunshine. There's a desire to reach that. So that's the kind of vibe that we're in, a healthy soil, lots of sunlight. So there's that feeling of wanting to emerge. And then that's the feeling of 2025. If it's all there, the goods and not so goods, but there's just more slipstream and more goods.
Okay, well, we're going to package that up, and that's what we're going to end with. Lots of goods out there.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much, Tiger, for coming on and sharing today. I really appreciate it. I hope that all of you guys out there enjoyed the conversation, the camaraderie here, and the good vibes we're putting out to 2025 and beyond.
I love it. Let's do it.
Excellent. So thanks again for listening wherever you're at in the world. And until next week, remember that life is too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey. To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.